Hello, I am Martin Fencka and welcome to the first episode of another of my Civilization 5 Vox Populi series. So as usual, because this is the first episode, it's more like an introduction, so we'll check the settings, we'll check the mods you'll be using, and as usual I have 3 different starting locations prepared, so it will be up to you guys to decide which of these 3 we'll be using for the series. After this episode is out, you'll have 24 hours to vote in comments which of these locations you like the most, and the one that gets the most votes will be used for the series. Also, as usual with the release of the next episode, so episode 2, I will make all the initial save files available for you if you want to play with me. Just make sure you have the same version of Vox Populi. It's the version from the 2nd of June, currently the latest one. Okay, that brings us to the mods you'll be using. As usual, it's just the Vox Populi package. I was thinking about adding something on top of Vox Populi this time, but then when I went through the patches that we skipped while we were doing the Venice series, there are actually some changes that I want to try without like any additions. So, as I said, again, we are just playing with the Vox Populi package. And what else? I think now we can check the settings. Actually, last time I thought we had interesting settings. As Venice, I thought it'll be very difficult series because, at least to me, domination victory as Venice, not exactly something I would like. That would be first thing I would think about. When you say Venice, like domination victory is the last thing I would consider, but it turned out that Venice is pretty strong for domination victory, and it was maybe the easiest domination game we had so far. So this time I decided to change the settings a little bit to make it hopefully a lot more difficult to win the game. So when we check the settings, we'll be using strong Civ, but there are some other challenges. So I decided to rebuild Roman Empire. This time I actually wasn't sure which civ to pick, and I went through multiple civs, couldn't decide. Then I checked map types, and then when I saw Mediterranean, I just had to do it. It was like I saw Mediterranean, I immediately thought, let's rebuild Roman Empire. So that's what we're gonna be doing. There are not that many settings for this map, just Mediterranean, a large size, can't change that. Difficulty, speed, ancient era, nothing else. 20 city-states, which is the usual number for this size of the map. And as I said, this time I decided the civ based on the map, not the other way around. As I said, we're gonna be playing as Rome, trying to rebuild, or trying to conquer Mediterranean, basically, rebuild the empire. And because of that, I tried to handpick civs that either existed during the Roman era or like were created in the area that was under Roman control. So Greece, it's not exactly from the Roman time, right? It was right before that, but I still think it belongs slightly to the Mediterranean. So that's one. Then Germany represents like the German barbarian tribes Rome had to fight against. Celts, again, represents like the Pictish tribes in the north of the British Isles. Persia, someone to represent the Middle East. Carthage, that's the actual Roman like enemy number 1, I guess. Spain, that should represent the Iberian tribes. Then we have France, which is the Frankish barbarian tribes. Egypt, don't have to say too much about that. And the last civ is actually gonna be like completely random. Because the usual number of saves for large map is 10. I didn't want to cut the last one. I was actually thinking about adding one, but I'm not sure how the map looks like. I actually never used Mediterranean before, so I'm not sure how large it actually will be, because there will be a large sea in the middle, right? There's a huge Mediterranean Sea in the middle of the map, so I didn't want to make the map more crowded by actually adding some saves. So I decided to stick to the usual number and just keep one completely random save in the game. And that's the saves. And now advanced options. Nothing surprising here. I just had to disable the start bias because without disabling it, I wasn't able to get 3 different starting locations. Basically, I kept getting more or less the same thing over and over again. So this made it much more easier to get more variety for the starting locations. No ancient ruins as usual. No events. No tech trading, tech brokering. I'm not sure if I kept the research agreements. I think I did. And then, yeah, quick combat, quick movement, raging barbarians, transparent diplomacy. Nothing too crazy here. But there is one change that's like a self-inflicted penalty, or how to call it, that I decided to do this time. No authority for us. We'll go progress. Maybe that's the like most important change for the series. First time we won't be using authority. We won't start with progress. I want to go to social policies in tradition before going progress. But well, as I said, no authority this time. So that's I don't know. It feels like shooting myself in the leg with that, but I don't know why. But I always wanted to try Rome progress. So I'm thinking like, let's do all of it at the same time. Like, let's just rebuild Roman Empire in Mediterranean, and may as well try what I wanted to try with Rome and go progress. So we'll see how that works, and how bad progress actually is. But well, how bad? There have been some changes to progress throughout the development of Vox Populi. So maybe it could actually work. I really want to find out. So yeah, that's the settings. And now when we go to the starting locations, it's actually a large map, so it may take a moment to load. But we can talk about the Roman unique abilities, unique unit and building. So, the glory of Rome. When you conquer a city, the city retains all buildings and you immediately acquire additional territory around the city. So, pretty powerful. You conquer the city, it doesn't get weaker because it doesn't lose, I think it doesn't lose all like the walls, castles, all the kind of stuff that for other saves are automatically destroyed. And you even get more territory. So it's much easier when you conquer a city not to flip it. It's actually almost impossible, I would say, for the enemy to like retake cities once you conquer them. And the 15% production towards buildings present in your capital. So yeah, you can build up your secondary cities faster as long as they are building stuff that your capital already has, which means you want to focus on our capital. Well, we always focus on our capital, but in this case, we probably want to focus on micromanaging the building queue a little bit more, so that we make sure we always have all the normal buildings in our capital in order so that our like secondary cities get the bonus. Sometimes I want to focus a lot more on wonders, and I'm delaying like the normal buildings, which is probably a bad idea as Rome. We want to make sure this 15% bonus is always available everywhere. Then our unique unit, a legion, a replacement for a swordsman, a strong frontline land unit of the classical era. Only the Romans might build it. This unit has a higher combat strength than the swordsman, which it replaces, and gains the cover promotion for free. It can also construct forts and roads once you have researched the required technologies, and starts with Pilum promotion, which deals 10 damage to all adjacent enemies every turn while fortified. So yeah, pretty strong early game unit. One of the strongest actually. So I want to build as many of them as possible and then keep promoting them to, or upgrading them to make sure we don't lose these unique promotions, especially the Pilum promotion is I think pretty good one. I actually don't remember last time I played against Rome in the early game, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's really annoying and really strong. Even for the late game, it's gonna be pretty useful together with the ability to build forts and, more importantly, roads. Oh, that's Legion and Colosseum. Unique replacement for Arena. When a unit defeats an enemy unit in battle, receive 5 golden age points in the city, scaling with era. If the unit was created by the city, also receive plus 10 great general points, or 10 admiral points if it's a C unit. Scaling with era. City connections produce 2% more gold, and the rest is just the same thing as arena, I think. Quite like a complicated description, but basically it means we are getting more golden age points as we are killing stuff, and we are getting general or admiral points as we are killing stuff. It's really quite that simple. We just want to make sure that we have Colosseum everywhere, so that no matter where our units were created, we are getting the bonus. So that's basically it. Okay, so that's all the unique stuff that Rome has available. And when we check the starting locations, I tried to find 3 different ones. Wasn't easy, but hopefully it's not all the same. The first one, I think this might be the strongest one. We are starting next to a river, next to a mountain, on a hill with the forest, with 3 luxuries right next to us. And to give you a complete picture, I think before I decided to keep the starting location, I moved the pathfinder, so I'll give you the same information. I moved this way. Actually, didn't reveal anything, just a little bit more production to the north, just mountains, but basically inconsequential, really. What we need to know is here. We may have a bit of a problem with growth because forests don't give that much food, but we'll have very decent production. We can build farms on the river, so that should solve the problem with food. Also, we'll go with the first actually first 2 tradition policies, but the opener is important. That's the extra food. So yeah, even though there isn't that much food on tiles around the city, we should be fine, and the production is pretty important. And then we get the additional yields from furs that are really nice as well. Actually, when improved, it gives food. I thought when improved it was production. Still. So we will get the food from furs once we can improve it. We just want to get camp as soon as possible. So yeah, and yeah, because we are starting on a hill with the forest, the start should be pretty quick with the extra production when we chop the forest as we start the city, and the extra production forest city on the hill. Just overall a decent start. So I decided to keep it basically right away. I really like this kind of a starting location. Okay, so that's 1. Then number 2. And by the way, I tried for all these starting locations to be quite decent because, as I said, self-inflicted penalty, no authority, which is definitely a deficit. Authority is so strong. So I didn't want to have like a clearly garbage starting location. This one is actually quite weak for the very, very early game. Then all the bonuses kick in. Later it will be really good, but it may take a while for all the bonuses, and especially like the production, to kick in. As you can see, there is no production around our capital. There is a lot of food, there is some gold, that'll definitely help, but to get the production we have to go south, because that's where all the production is. And also, we are starting with coffee, so when we get the monopoly on that, it's 10% production in all our cities. This just means that with the slower start, decent growth, but slower start meaning it'll take longer to build everything in the capital. We may fall a bit behind in the early game, and I'm not sure if falling behind combined with progress is the best idea. But yeah, again, this definitely has potential. It's completely different from the first starting location, so I decided to keep it. And yeah, this, I don't know, this maybe would be my favorite for the series, just because it's like a different location that I would usually pick, right? I heavily prioritize locations that have mountains and forests, so I can get my forest hill start with all the initial bonuses to have like a head start from turn 1 basically. But it's a lot of food here and a lot of potential later. Let's say from the late early game, all of these bonuses should start kicking in, and then it's a lot that we can get from the monopoly on coffee, with all the population that we will have from the crazy early growth once we start working mines here. Or maybe we could like really focus on early manufacturing to solve the production problems. There's definitely ways how to solve the production problem, and when it's solved, it's gonna be quite a lot of production in the city, and it should go pretty tall. So that's that. And now the third option. Come on. Because I just couldn't get like a desert or a jungle or anything like that, to get some more variety, I decided to keep this start when it's the only start when we have only like sea luxuries. So that's the difference here. It's similar to the first one, based on the terrain that we have around the capital, because it's again forest hill next to a mountain. No river this time, but we are on the coast instead. I actually moved the Pathfinder north to see a little bit more. So there are 2 wheat tiles. It definitely is something. So there is some more food here. Basically, 4 tiles that will allow us a very decent growth, and then we have all these hills around for production. This is probably the weakest start, but definitely not the weak one. This will force us into some like creativity when it comes to like early research, because that's always what happens when you have sea resources, and at the same time you kind of need mines, because that's how we're gonna get production here. We'll probably have to build 2-3 mines, maybe manufacture, but that's like, I don't know. I think we have to go mining here to get just normal mines. So yeah, that means taking some tags here, and when you have to go like the upper part and the bottom part as well, it's always like a bit more difficult compared to when you just focus on one side. But again, definitely some potential here. I like that we are on the coast. That's something you can take advantage of. Wheat actually is quite strong, although in this case, no way, we can create a triangle of farms. We just have to chop down this forest, and then we can have a triangle of farms here. So it's always a lot of food that you can get from the wheat farms. And yeah, just overall seems good starting location. Again, different to the previous 2. So this is option 3. I'm thinking if there is something I forgot about, but I don't think so. We covered all the settings, we covered the starting locations, we covered our unique abilities. So I think this is all that we need to do in the first episode. And once again, as I said, now you have 24 hours to decide which of these 3 locations is most interesting one. And once again, don't decide based on what you think is the strongest location. Decide on the one which you think would be the most interesting one for the series. And yeah, I think that's it. So I hope that you like the idea for the series, and I hope that you're gonna join me for the next episode again. Until then, have a good time. Bye bye.